wheat meat, yummy plant meat. I grew up on wheat meat. We always called it gluten. This is not a gluten-free recipe. This is pure gluten. I've been making this for years. I've been making it since I was a kid. Wheat meat, aka gluten, aka which I don't use that word. I just call it gluten or wheat meat. Wheat meat is the protein of wheat, and I love it, and everybody loves it, and you're gonna love it. The main ingredient that you're going to need is Vital Wheat gluten flour. Gluten flour. I have a 2-pound bag of gluten flour. I like to buy my gluten flour in bulk. I've got gluten flour, I've got some nutritional yeast, a whole bunch of herbs and spices. You really don't need this many herbs and spices. Use what herbs and spices you like. Basically, you just need the gluten flour, a few herbs and spices, some kind of oil. My mom always used peanut butter when I was growing up instead of oil. First thing I'm gonna do is pour my gluten flour in the mixing bowl. Sometimes I make half, but if you wanna make a whole lot, dump in the whole bag. How much do we wanna make tonight? I'm gonna make the whole bag tonight, and we're gonna make a bunch of stuff. My family will eat all of it, and it will be great to have for meals over the next several days. I'm adding all my dry ingredients. I'm gonna add some nutritional yeast. You don't need nutritional yeast. If you don't have any, don't worry about it. I just like to put nutritional yeast in pretty much literally everything. Just like flax meal, I'm gonna put in some flax meal. You don't need flax meal. Some ginger, probably a teaspoon or two. Some spice mixes, poultry seasoning. Great to use when you're out of sage. Bit of cumin. I only use a little bit of cumin because it smells like dirty socks. Pepper. I'm gonna add salt, but not too much salt because I'm also gonna be using soy sauce, which is very salty. Onion powder. Love onion powder in my gluten. I probably added a few teaspoons of onion powder. I'm gonna add a few teaspoons of garlic powder. Salt-free seasoning, which just has a whole bunch of yummy herbs and spices. Some ground paprika. I wish it was smoked paprika, but they're always out at the store because everyone loves smoked paprika. I've added all the dry ingredients into the mixing bowl and I'm stirring it all together. I've added some diced onions and I'm gonna grate some carrot in there for some texture. It's totally optional, you don't have to do this, but you can if you want. A little bit of texture in there. So next I'm gonna get the wet ingredients ready. You're gonna want water. If you have some vegetable broth, that would be really good. If you have any veggies cooking, you could use the water from your cooking veggies. Oftentimes I have kale cooking right now and I'd use that. You're gonna want a few cups of wet ingredients. So get your water, your soy sauce. I'm gonna make at least 2 cups of liquid. I'm gonna put in some oil, probably about 1/3 of a cup of oil. A little bit more because I'm making a lot tonight. Add the liquid. Just gonna mix it all together. I'm making a lot tonight, so definitely gonna need more liquid than that. Probably about twice as much. If I'd been making half this, then about 2 cups would be good. So I'm gonna probably need about 4 cups of liquid tonight. Now again, if you don't wanna use oil, use some kind of a nut butter. Then you're gonna get it thoroughly mixed. Make sure you're getting the flour on the bottom. So I got it mixed and now I'm going to knead it with my hands. So you better have made sure your hands are clean. If you like to wear rings like me, you might need to take them off for this step of getting your wheat meat. If you added too much liquid, you can add some more flour. If you're out of gluten flour, you could add regular flour, some chickpea flour, oat flour, corn flour, any kind of flour. The gluten is kneaded, stretchy, It's elasticy and it's moist. Some people like to boil their gluten. I like to bake my gluten. So I've got my oven preheated to 350 and I'm gonna grease my pans. You can use whatever kind of grease you like. I find that vegetable shortening works really well. I'm spreading vegetable shortening in my pan. I'm going to take about half of this to make a roast. I'm going to shape it into the shape that I want. For this one, we're going to be shaping it into a loaf. Sometimes I like to put a wild rice mix inside. I'm going to put this into the greased pan. You don't have to do this, but I like to roast my roast with veggies. Sweet potatoes, onion, carrots, and garlic, all chopped up into fairly large pieces. I'm adding the veggies on the side of the roast randomly. I'm just kind of packing them in here because they're actually going to shrink down quite a bit. You can make the gluten roast just all by itself. You don't have to use veggies. Definitely need to make some kind of liquid to bake this in. If you have some broth, that'd probably be awesome. I'm just gonna use mostly water, soy sauce, olive oil, and rosemary. I'm going to dump it over the roast and the veggies. I really like rosemary on my roast. I'm gonna add some more rosemary. So I've got my roast covered with the liquid, and now I'm going to cover it with tin foil. I would normally use my old recycled pieces of tin foil, but just for you guys, I'm going to use new tin foil for this video to make it fancy. Make sure it's nice and sealed. And now I'm going to put it in my preheated oven. I've got my oven preheated to 350. Oh, careful not to spill, like I just did. So I've got my roast in the oven and I'm gonna give it about 30 minutes before I check on it. And I'm gonna get started on the other wheat meat. So with the other half of my wheat meat batter, I'm going to make more delicious things. And I'm just going to shape them into the shapes I want. So I'm just squishing these into a patty shape, and then I'm just gonna put them into my greased pan. And I'm just smushing them down. And I'm gonna use up the pan there. So I made patties and I'm gonna go ahead and make some nuggets. Barbecued nuggets. Don't forget to grease your pan. I'm just taking nugget-sized pieces of my gluten and tossing them in this greased baking dish. These also need to be covered in liquid. I'm just gonna pour some water, covering them completely to cover my nuggets. And then I'm also going to add soy sauce. I'm going to not put rosemary on these because we're gonna put barbecue sauce on those later. It's very important that you cover these. You don't want your gluten to dry out. Using my recycled tin foil, already used before. All my wheat meat is in the oven. So we're checking on our wheat meat. I know that the nuggets are probably gonna be the first ones to be done. They are the smallest shape, so they're gonna be done first. Oh yeah, they look perfect. And these patties look perfect. They've been in here for about 45 minutes, maybe a little longer. And let's check on the roast. It's been in here about 50 minutes, maybe. All right, so the roast is not ready. Go ahead and baste it. If you don't have a baster, you could try using a spoon to get some of this liquid. We're gonna cook it just a little bit longer, but you wanna keep basting it. You wanna baste it all over because you don't want it to dry out. And I'm gonna put it back in the oven for about 5 or 10 more minutes. So I've got my discount barbecue sauce, and I'm just gonna take my spoon here and just break them up a little bit so that the sauce goes all in between them. I'm gonna add the barbecue sauce. I'm gonna add just a little bit more for good measure. We're gonna put them back in the oven for a little while just to warm that up. And we'll check on the roast while we're in there. The roast is looking pretty good. I'm gonna baste it and I'm gonna put that back in there for a few more minutes. The patties are out. Now we're gonna take out the barbecue nuggets. They look delicious. And the roast looks great. We got a sizzling hot roast. We got barbecue nuggets and we got patties or cutlets or whatever you wanna call them. Slicing perfectly. So now we've got this plethora of wheat meat. It's going to last us throughout this dinner and many more to come for the next several days. We literally cannot wait another minute to dig into this wheat meat. We're going to devour it now. We're going to chew it up with our canines. And now I'm ready to dig in and eat this wheat. Barbecue wheat meat roast. Mashed potatoes and gravy, kale and asparagus, roasted sweet potatoes, carrots, onions, and garlic with rosemary. Let me know what else you want to see me make in the Garden of Vegan. Yay!